President Joe Biden has just signed into law the $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill. Of course, it contains a very controversial clause. It's a crypto provision that potentially will expand the idea of what a broker is. It will insist on reporting requirements that will be almost impossible to comply with. There are some people who say that parts of it are unconstitutional. So there are a lot of people who are not happy about this. We have seen some steps being taken already to push back against it. So our favorite Senator, Cynthia Lummis, she's now attempting to narrow the scope of the law's crypto broker clause. She introduced a bill on Monday that sought to kind of narrow that. There are also some other steps that other people are taking. We can dive into those as well. But I'm going to throw to the group for your take on this. I mean, it's if this goes through, a lot of people are saying that it's going to make it very difficult for crypto to really flourish in the United States. It's going to push innovation offshore. It's going to make it difficult to comply. What are your thoughts on this? Well, I'll throw to you to start off with.
Yeah, I'll take it from just like a Bitcoin mining perspective, because that's what I got yesterday when this passed. There was a meeting between Representative Emmer's blockchain caucus, and they were talking about what this could mean going forward. And they had a bunch of representatives from a bunch of different Bitcoin mining industry bigwigs kind of talking with government about it. And Dave Perel of Compute North said outright, what this does is kills Bitcoin mining in North America, which is just, it's pretty frustrating to see that right after China also banned it. And we've been talking so much on the show this year about the differences between Chinese foreign policy and Chinese policy when it comes to crypto, and the differences between it and the US policy when it comes to crypto, and how there should be a very, very large gap between those two things. Since, they're a totalitarian regime and the U.S. is a democracy, but we don't see that happening. And this is the forefront of tech. And we see that there's these two policies are slowly converging to where cryptocurrency is being knocked down time and time again. So pretty discomforting to hear those words yesterday. And it's not just Bitcoin mining, of course. Like this language was written so sloppily and so quickly, and there's no changes made to it. And it impacts everyone from running a node all the way to mining, to anyone running a validator, anyone, even a coder. Everyone, someone just building code, building a DeFi protocol, they can be classified under this legislation as a broker, which encompasses so much more paperwork and KYC information. It's really a step backwards for technology in the US. Zach, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Just the all-encompassing nature of this language not being precise, it just really goes to show. And I'm just kind of remembering this all came out over the summer, and there was just much effort to try to be more precise in how this language was deployed. But it doesn't seem like that's going to get over the finish line. So I think it is rather disappointing. I believe this is also the thing that the Treasury Department said it wasn't really going to enforce. We'll see what plays out with that. And we'll see when this goes into effect. But yeah, the fact that this encompasses so much of the crypto industry, seemingly on accident, I think is going to be particularly, could be particularly harmful to the crypto industry in the US. And we'll see what level of enforcement follows. I think I saw Jen's hand, and I also saw Naomi's hand, but I'm going to toss it down to Jen first.
Yeah, so the fact that a separate bill has to be introduced to narrow the scope and language in a bill that already exists and has just been signed by the president is really ludicrous to me. There's been so much pushback from the industry. There's been so many attempts to change this language, and now we need to introduce a separate bill. It just feels like the industry is being forced to jump through so many hoops, and the people who are making the decisions really don't understand. Every time we talk about the bill, I always bring up the provision that requires recipients of anything over $10,000 to record the personal information of the seller and then report that to the government within 15 days. And I think in this article, there were lawyers who said, that's just absolutely impossible. People are not going to be able to comply with that. And I just wonder if these rules and laws are being written in so that regulators can pick and choose when they are going to enforce them and use it to their benefit. But Naomi, I'll pass it back off to you to wrap up the segment.
That's exactly why they do it. They give themselves a very long leash so they can get away with a lot. And to your point, Zach, about the Treasury did respond and say, oh, we're not going to interpret this too broadly. But it requires a couple of presumptions there. The first is that they define too broadly the same way that we define too broadly. And also that any future Treasury Secretary isn't going to just reinterpret it more broadly. So, it's just the fact that this is what's written into the law is really problematic, regardless of what some anonymous source from the Treasury Secretary has said in terms of their interpretation. So it's really problematic. We'll see what happens in the coming months with pushback, and there is going to be a constitutional challenge mounted by Coin Center. So that will be very interesting to watch play out. Very much rooting for Coin Center, and you can go and support them with all of your might and your money. And I think that would be a good cause.